People at the end of the line that get blamed. I'm not saying that ISIS ain't terrible. That conversation, we're not idiots. We don't need to have a conversation, is beheading bad, yes or no? We've had that conversation, beheading is bad. But it's always people that are at the end of the line, the people that smash a window, the people that pick up a brick, the people that take drugs, the people that are the consequence of this cultural imperialism, of this corporate corruption. If you want that stuff to end, get the head of the serpent. Stop going down here, these hopeless, pathetic tendrils. Of course you need to stop those kind of executions and brutality, but don't put them people in charge, the people that benefit from it financially.
The situation is almost identical to what happened in the mid-1930s, when Hitler and his Nazi thugs were gaining power.
If it is comparable to the 1930s, and I don't know whether or not it is,
Militants, not rebels.
it's really got to him, the terrorist militant thing. Terrorists, not militant. Let's just start calling everybody from Iraq a terrorist, okay? Let's call it Tirak. They're Tiraki, terrorists. Look, they're terrorists, that's my point.
How could any American want to stand down when thousands of innocent people are being killed by terrorists, not militants? I can't answer that question. I can only listen and shake my head.
There, the head has been shaken. No, Bill, don't shake the head. No, I'm shaking it. Bill, please. Anything but the head shake.
But even more frightening is the most powerful man in the world, Barack Obama, does not want to confront evil. He simply wants to remain detached, hoping for some kind of mythical coalition to deal with deadly threats.
I wish he was like that. That would be amazing if he was detached, if he was like the sort of a floating orb of pure consciousness. The mythical coalition will soon come, and peace will be here. The extraterrestrials from another dimension, explaining to us that we are all one, that our regional and ideological conflicts are meaningless, as are our corporate and financially based obligations and agendas. Thank you. A mythical coalition would be brilliant. I'd love that. All unicorns and beautiful little creatures and sprites and light beings. That's probably our best hope, Bill.
The Wall Street Journal nailed it in their editorial last Friday. Quote, perhaps history will mark this as the week that President Obama recognized that evil unimpeded will devour everything before it.
It's almost a satire on the times that we live in now. Evil unimpeded will devour everything before it. This is that evil. Unless we oppose it, unless we start to think differently and talk differently and demand different lives and intervene ourselves, intervene in their interventions, then the very evil that Bill is claiming that his ideas are preventing us from being subjugated by will prevail.
But I don't think the White House will recognize anything, because I don't think President Obama looks at the world in terms of good and evil.
No one should. It's much more complex than that. As I've told you before, Solzhenitsyn, the great Russian writer, said the line between good and evil doesn't run between nations, cultures, creeds or religions, but through every human heart. I'm capable of being cruel, making mistakes, being selfish, as is Bill, as is Barack Obama, as is every single human being on the planet. So what we have to do is tend towards the compassionate, altruistic and beautiful side of ourselves and hope that that creates bonds, invisible, mythical coalitions between each other that can create a new climate of consciousness in which human beings can transcend and a new civilization can emerge. Because if we don't, we're doomed. Good and evil is not a helpful tool at this time.
For him, there is always a political solution, a consensus, a discussion.
He's like the angry dad of the world, and he built, no, I've already told you this stuff 1,000 times, so why am I still doing my segment? It's the news, you're going to be on every day, Bill. Don't look back like, look, I told you yesterday. You're some worn out stepdad.
But hopefully all the chaos will wake up Americans who are again asleep, just as we were before 9/11.
Yes, we're using 9/11. We're going to drop that in. It's the 9/11 bomb. Trumps everything. In the top trumps of right-wing arguments, here comes our supercard. It's 9/11. Here are some actual facts on the situation in the Middle East that might be helpful for all of us. Me as well. We're all learning together. Defeating ISIS and the other terrorist groups is vital, but it's also vital that we oppose US intervention, which will make matters worse and is designed to bolster US presence and use Iraqi Kurdistan as a base of operations and aggression against the Iraqi and Iranian people. Oh, sounds true, doesn't it? Obama's declaration to intervene militarily, humanely of course, in Iraq is the US Vice President Joe Biden's plan from 2006 in action to create a very weak central government in Baghdad and free statelets led by sectarian forces. Sounds like the sort of thing they would do, because it helps them to impose imperial corporate will in that area. The US is already dominating the Kurdistan regional government and using some of the Kurdish leaders as their main asset in Iraq. They have told them not to declare an independent Kurdish state now because that will mean loss of US influence in Baghdad. Oh no, that sounds like the sort of thing that would happen. Look at how they talk, look at how they behave. This isn't pie in the sky stuff. When they sort of focus the argument down to, look, do you want ISIS to behead people? Obviously we don't, but there's not like a sort of an invisible thread that connects what they're saying the solution is to those terrible actions. We must question the relationships that they propose between the event and the solution. The truth is that the growth of ISIS is a legacy of the war on terror. We know that, of the sanctions and bombing of Iraq, of an occupation which deliberately fostered sectarian divisions. They caused that and exacerbated it, and a series of policies which have resulted in the backing of right-wing fundamentalist groups to fight everyone perceived as the enemy of the US and its allies. In Syria, Western powers and Middle East powers funded different groups, in particular Qatar and Saudi Arabia, poured money into different armed groups, Qatar spending $3 billion in 2 years. Saudi has doubled its arms spending in the past decade. Turkey, a key NATO member, facilitated the movement of arms and funding. So we're all involved. You can't do some simple solution. There has to be a massive ideological shift. And I can see that thinking about that stuff makes you tired. It makes me tired as well. It's like, oh my God, it's so complicated. Can't we just kill those bad people? No, it's not as simple as that. ISIS was created in part by this funding, which it continued even after the British Parliament voted not to bomb Syria a year ago and Obama had to abort his plans. Do you remember that, when parliamentary process stepped in and we went, hold on a minute, this sounds a bit like that thing you lied to us about last time. They get away with it because covert intervention is much harder to detect, because they don't do it in a sort of blatant flags and camouflage manner. They do it discreetly, subtly, and continues to go on. Proxy wars being fought all over the world for the end of corporate interest. It's up to us to oppose that, to not be apathetic and to remain informed. And the Trews is an attempt to give us the right information. Bill, in spite of what he tells us, is the opposite of that. Bill O'Reilly's message continues to be the same message as Rupert Murdoch's, the same message as Fox News, the same message as the establishment. Things are okay the way they are. We're staying in charge. God, we'll put that little fire out there, we'll put that little fire out there. The problem is the people that are in control of us. It's the people that are talking that we need to address, as well as extremists like ISIS, but not using the means suggested by our bigger enemy, the establishment. Thank you very much. That was some Trews. Subscribe here. Thank you.
Is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the news. If the news was true, I want some Trews. Let's have some Trews.